Hello everybody. Time for another friendly sealed league. Let's get into deck building. In the last league that I played, I went 5-4, so I'm a little bummed about that. I feel as though I should have been able to do better, but it just did not work out. So let's see what we've got in this. Looking at mythics first, okay. Pretty insane to have 4 mythics out of this. Waking Sun's avatar is good if you're in an all dino deck and you can get to 8 mana in white, but it's not amazing. Direfleet Ravager is definitely a beater. I can take a lot of life off the top of each person's head. Star of Extinction, this was played against me once, which was annoying. I should have seen it coming, but then he also had Settle the Wreckage, which it's tough to do 2 board wipes in one game. But it definitely will clear the board of almost everything for 7 mana, which is nice. And then Rowdy Crew is definitely good. So out of these I could see, some sort of pirate deck with the wizard, or sorry, Rowdy Crew is a little bit different than Captivating Crew, which I was thinking of. It's still good for a pirate deck. It draws you cards. The +1/+1s would be nice, but it's unlikely to get those unless you're able to dump land. So let's see what we have for rares. Deadeye Tracker. This is definitely nice in a pirate deck to let it just, because you can keep exploring whenever you have some free mana, which can only help you make this grow, or to keep getting some land off the top of your deck. And Spell Swindle is nice if you're in a Treasures Matter kind of deck, or if you've got a reason to want to counter things. At 5 mana, it's a little bit too expensive, I think, to want to play most of the time. So let's go through and see what these piles look like. Sun's Avatar is definitely good. Bright Reprisal is good. Territorial Hammerskull is good. This, I just don't think it's quite worth it. The Vigilance is nice. The few times I've played it, it just doesn't have the impact on the board that I want for a 5-drop. Not a fan of the Ritual of Rejuvenation. Rallying Roar is quite nice to be able to untap and give them all +1/+1. Legion's Judgment, there's a lot of 4+ power creatures. The Legion Conquistador, especially without any others to follow it up, just not worth it. Bishop's Soldier is good. Just a 2/2 bear with lifelink. Vampire Zeal is nice. In a vampire deck it's even better, but without vampires it's solid. Then we've got Slash of the Talons is nice for all of the smaller aggressive cards. And then this Keeper Cycle I'm still not a fan of. And the Caller isn't quite worth it unless we're running a very aggressive Dino deck with white, which is probably going to be unlikely. So, moving on to blue, I'm going to hold off on Spell Swindle. Windstrider is good. 3/3 flyers for 5 plus with Flash is good. Prosperous Pirates just to get you there and to have a butt on the ground is pretty good. 3/2 unblockable, and you get to bounce one of your own creatures if you want for 4 is good. Run Aground is definitely solid in a Tepo play. Cancels just aren't worth playing it. Siren Lookout is definitely playable. Sailor of the Means could do something. Spell Pierce, not really. And the Keepers, probably not. And Opt, if you can fit it in, makes sense to play. Switching over to black, Deathless Ancient, 4/4 flyer for 6 is a little expensive compared to, say, Air Elemental, but it is a good beater, and if you do happen to have vampires, it's quite a wonderful card. I was able to return it to my hand a few times before, and it just made things go quite smooth. The Ravager, definitely would want to play that. Contract Killing, 5 mana is expensive, but it is an unconditional kill card, and it does give you Um, 2 treasure tokens, which is nice. The Deacon's okay if we have vampires, so we can put it in as a conditional right now. The Cutthroats, maybe 1. I haven't seen them do a lot of work. Maybe in a lower cost red deck, or like a lower cost aggressive deck, with a lot of smaller things, like if we have dual shot or the like, maybe it's going to be worth it. Interloper, the Menace is nice, so I might drop these guys in. Vanquish the Weak is an excellent removal spell. Sky Marches, a 2/2 flyer for 3 that drains for 1, is good. It's a Windrake with an upside, and I have a feeling most people would almost always play Windrakes. The Knave, I haven't seen a great use for it, but a 3/2 is still a threat, which is nice. I haven't played with this. It could be a 2/3 for 2, or it could just get you some things, so it might be worthwhile playing. The Booter is nice. I definitely played against it, and it was annoying to have my removal taken away. And the fact that it's a flyer means that it's not completely irrelevant. And then we've got the Deadeye Tracker. So red is looking strong. We've got a lot of removal in it, and a bunch of efficient beaters, it seems. And some things to fill out the top end, which is good. So let's move on to red. Conditionally, I'm going to toss in Star of Extinction. I seem to be able to get to 7 mana in most games, no matter what. The double red would be tough depending on how we're playing, but it could have a great effect depending on what we need. The Rowdy Crew, it's a 3/3 with trample for 4, so it's at least going to pass the vanilla test-ish for that. Maybe just be a little bit under because of the double cost. But the ability to draw some cards and then maybe get it to a 5/5 makes it worth playing. Hijack, I'm not a fan of, though it could pair well with the Knave, but we're going to hold off on that. Fire Cannon Blast, yes. Oh look, another one, yes. Hard to want to even think about passing those up. For an aggressive black-red deck, the Headstrong Brutes, are definitely good. And in a pirate deck, having them have Menace will be good. The can't block is tough, but having 3 of these in more of a dedicated cannon or pirate deck will go a long way. Another good card, especially against vampires or some lower cost things, in a pirate deck, makes this wonderful. It's a small board wipe. I'm not seeing a lot of dinos, so I'm not seeing if that's going to be worth it. Still don't have many dinosaurs for this, but it is a bear, so we can toss it in provisionally. Swashbuckling, it's not the flying one, so this might not be nearly as worth it as some of the others. And Lightning Strike, of course we're going to play that. Unless we see some dinos in green that makes us want to go to green, I'm not positive that we'll want to play the Riles, but Dual Shot could be interesting in the deck, especially if we toss in the other Fathom Fleet Cutthroat for a little bit of a combo for those. They also would work well with the Fiery Cannonade if we're able to get up to 7 mana. So looking at green, not thrilled by the Brontodons, but the Spine back definitely can take over games just by being a machine. Sailback is good. Whiptail is good. Jade Guardians are good enough, so we can toss that in, especially if you've got ways to pump it or give it a flying. There's a lot of draft decks that stem around that, pretty much making it into a Boggles. Emergent Growth, not the biggest fan of those. New Horizons, good if I really need to ramp, but it's not looking like it in most cases. Crushing Canopy, Okay sideboard card, not worth running main deck. The Dryad to untap lands is good, but, you know, again, we're not ramping, so it's not as good. Drover of the Mighty would be pretty sweet, but unless we're playing more dinosaurs, it's just going to stay as a 1/1. So we've got a few cards in green that are really nice, like the Spineback. Sailback is good, and the Dovers, but I don't think it's enough to make green playable. We do have the Marauding Looter, so at the beginning of your end step you can loot if you want, which is really nice if we end up going some sort of blue-red deck. And the Raging Swordtooth, you know, is also good if you're in red-green running dinos, but we're not, at least at this point, so I'm going to hold off on that. The Sentinel, it is just a straight vanilla, so I'm not excited about that. Pirate's Cutlass, having one or two of those is definitely nice, so I'll put that there. And this is tough. It could be good as a cheaper rock, but it doesn't help out late game, so I don't think it's as worth it. So looking through this, I'm definitely going to cut the green. It just does not seem to be worth it, even though the Spineback is really, really good at just generating as many 4/4s as you want for a pretty cheap cost. I just don't see the rest of the support. Blue, the Windstriders are nice. Maybe we would toss those in, or maybe we'll toss in the Pirates as a splash. But I'm just not seeing enough here that makes us want to play it. So I'm going to cut that out as well. The red is really strong with, you know, the board wipe. The Rowdy Crew is good. 2, 3, 4 removal spells compared to white's 1, 2, and 3. White's allows us to get rid of bigger creatures easier, but things like Fire Cannon Blast can do some serious damage as well. And this has some aggressive pirates and the Rowdy Crew to help us push through things. The Knight might not make it, whereas Sun's Avatar is good, but the 3 white is really tough. The Territorial Hammer Skull is really good, but the rest of it just isn't quite there, because the Brutes can keep pushing us in. You know, if we toss 2 of those down, because they're both pirates, they give each other menace, which is nice, and then with the rest of the, you know, the burn that we have, we should be able to keep going through. So at this point I'm thinking of cutting the white and going black-red again, just because there's enough solid cards in the black and red, and I do have a decent amount of removal as well, between the Vanquish the Weak and the Contract Killing in black, that if we pair that with red, it's bringing us up to at least like 6 removal spells, which is pretty good. Though I guess we would have the most if we combined the red and the white, but I'm just not seeing the creature support that we would want for that. So I'm going to cut out the white. I want to play the Looter, but let's see how this looks in a moment. And let's split this out by converted mana cost. I definitely like to see this kind of curve to things. It's pretty low end, but we still have some solid high end pieces. There's a good chance that with what we're looking at, We have 3 vampires, so that means that the Deacon isn't going to make the cut. It's just not worth it. Then what else do we have here? There is a case to be made to not have the Star of Extinction, but I might leave it. I'm still going to leave it in for now to see what we do. The dual shot, because we're not enraging, it might not be worth it. We do have the one cutthroat, but I think we can leave the cutthroat in and remove the dual shot for now, just because that's a combo that's not going to help us out with anything else, which is not worth it. And there aren't a lot of 1 toughness creatures floating around. If we face a token deck, some sort of vampire tokens, we'll definitely want to side that in, but I don't think it's worth it right now. The Pirate's Cutlass will be really good because we have a ton of pirates, so it should be able to equip itself a lot of the time, which will be good. So we're a little weak on the bears, which is a bummer. So I might end up taking out one of the Dire Fleet Interlopers, just to get us down to 23 cards. I like this card because it can do work if there's enough things to exile, and with all of the burn that we have, it can grow, which is cool. It might end up being not good. We'll see. And all the other pieces here, I like. The Seeker's Squire is a little weak, but I still want something a little bit on the low end for us, just that way we can apply that that aggression to things. And I definitely want to keep the Ancient in here, just because it is a good late game finisher, and if you pair that up with things like the Dire Fleet Ravager, it's quite nice. And I look forward to the game that I can put the Pirate's Cutlass on the Ravager to make it, you know, a 6/5 Menace Death Touch. That'll be pretty hard for most opponents to deal with. I'm actually tempted to drop the Knave instead of the Interlopers. Because I've got enough 3/2s. The Knave is good, but not quite worth it, and the Interlopers could be a little bit better for what we're trying to do. And I've got quite a bit of 3-drops, so to even things out would be good. But I'm gonna instead actually take out one of the Interlopers and leave it like that. So for the land here, let's do a quick count of mana symbols to see what makes the most sense to drop in. So we've got 15 black, and 14 red. I think we could do an even split, but since we've got a lot more double red in the early game, I think we might favor red over black. Yeah, so do a 9-8 split. Sounds good. Let's save that, and let's